Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Laravel 9 Basic Beginners course. This is episode 9, which is also going to be the final episode. In the previous episode, we worked on the completion of our API, creating a to-do, updating a to-do, deleting, as well as showing a single to-do, and all of that. So this is the final episode. It's not going to be long as the other ones. It's pretty much going to be short. I just want to address something such as uh, the cast issue that we had, as well as show you a little tip that's a bit out of Laravel. But so remember, this wasn't working for us, and I'm just going to make this smaller and move this here. And when we got our data, we were getting 0 or 1, and the reason why this refused to work even after doing it was because I had a typo here. So this should be casts and not cast. So you can update yours, and this should be casts and not cast. And then now, when you get to see the data, it's actually going to return either true or false. Okay, and all that. Now, when creating a model or when creating a controller, if you think about it, remembering all of this may be a bit of a bottleneck. I think you should know about it, but remembering all of this may be a bit difficult and all of that. So in Laravel, there are shorter ways of doing this. Okay, so in order for us to do this, I'm going to create a new model. Now, there is also a way to create a new model and as well as create a new model and create the controller as well, right? If I were to do it that way, usually I prefer when I'm working with APIs, I prefer to create the model separately, sorry, the controller separately. And the reason is because I usually would want it to go into the API folder, right? But in order for us to do that, so we actually could say PHP artisan make model, okay? And we're going to say the model is user. We want to create a migration, which you already know that, but this isn't for migration, or rather, well, this is for controller, okay? And then I think we could just controller. Model already exists. Okay, this came from Laravel by default. So let's create some other model. Okay, let's leave that. Let's call this post. Okay, and then we want to create a model for post and also create the controller. Now, if you take note, the post controller is being created inside of the controllers folder. And if I wanted this to be for the API, I want it to be inside my API folder. Okay, if I move this in here, I could, but I would have to update the namespace. So if you were to move your controller and for some reason after you move your controller, you found out that it's not working, you probably want to update the namespace because now you're inside another folder. You probably want to update it so it has that folder. You can see just like you have here, and what you have here is quite different. Okay, so you probably want to have something like this written instead of what you had. Okay, and all of that, and then you'd have to import this guy. So I don't want all of that. It's a lot of stress. I'm going to delete this. So usually you could also still create the controller. No, we just deleted the wrong one. You could create the controller, but the major thing is I want to create the controller as well as pass in the data that I want, which is I want to have all of this, this index I want created for me already. So in order to do this, I could say create controller and then remember API slash, okay? And we want to call this post controller. And then we want to pass a flag saying dash dash API. Now, if we do this, it's going to create, let's do this. It's going to create uh, all of the methods for us, as you can see. But now it's using the method, which of course the old, which is just having the ID and you have to manually do, find and all of that. But in Laravel, you could as well still go further. But instead of just doing this, let's call this one block controller. Uh, sorry, just a second. I'm just going to quit this. And you call this block controller. And then API, and then dash dash model, and then the model is going to be to do because we do not have the blog model. Okay. Now, by passing in the model to do, if we come back to block controller now, what happens is that you can see that it automatically filled our model in for us, which is what we literally did over here. It has done it for us like automatically. We had to type all of this manually. So you have, I'm just going to close this, close this, close this. I'm also going to close this. Now we have all three of them. This, without passing in the model, as you can see, it's just put in the ID, but when we pass in the model, it's going to take in the model, automatically import it and pass it into as a pass it for us as a parameter. So this is actually a faster way for development. Okay, this has nothing to do with how good your code is or not, but it's just making it faster for development, and then you can easily type in or whatever data or whatever thing you want to do in here. Now, just for good practice, this is a tip on Postman. Okay, if you are using Postman, if you remember each time that we wanted to check what data we received over here, we had to come back, we had to click send, and all of that. So one thing you could do is just a tip is when you send a request, you could actually save a request. Okay, so we don't have four. You could actually still save that request as 404. We don't have one either. So, but then you can click and save response as an example, and we can call this. You probably want to call it the error code or whatever type of example, or if you have some other names. So that way, whenever you come to show to do, even if I was to close this, I'm just going to save this. Even if I was to close this and come back here, I could actually, just access uh the data like the response, so I could see what kind of response was there, and I don't have to, always send the request over and over again. Okay, maybe you might be working with a live API and all of that, and you do not want to keep using your API credits or something. You probably want to be saving your response. Okay, so if you maybe had a successful response and not 404, you want to save as an example, and you could easily just say save as 200. Okay, and pretty much that's it. All right. So I hope that these, I mean, I hope the few things I hope you've learned a few things and tips from this. And also, if you have any question, feel free to shoot questions in the comment section and all of that. And pretty much that's it for this course. Thank you very much and thank you for watching. Bye bye.